I don't know what happened. It's damn phone. Wasn't even recording it. What's good, Joe? My name is Leo the Black Mexican, and we here with another exercise in reading. Please don't look into how I'm reading because I can't read. Well, I can. It just sounds crazy. Alright, let's get it. The Spectacular Siren. Yeah. In the year 48 BC, Ptolemy the 14th of Egypt managed to dispose and exile his sister and wife, Queen Cleopatra. He secured the country's borders. He secured the country's borders against her return and began to rule on his own. Later that year, Julius Caesar came to Alexandria to ensure that despite the local power struggles, Egypt would remain loyal to Rome. One night, Caesar was meeting with his generals in the Egypt palace discussing strategy, when a guard entered to report that a Greek merchant was at the door bearing a large and valuable gift for the Roman leader. Caesar, in the mood for a little fun, gave the merchant permission to enter. The man came in, carrying on his shoulder a large rolled-up carpet. He undid the rope and around the bundle and, with a snap of his wrist, unfurled it, revealing the young Cleopatra, who had been hidden inside, and who rose up half clothed before Caesar and his guests, like Venus emerging from the waves. Everyone was dazzled at the sight of the beautiful young woman, queen, only 21 at the time, appearing before them suddenly as if in a dream. They were astounded at her daring and theatricality, theatricality, smuggled into the harbor at night with one man to protect her, risking everything on a bold move. No one was more enchanted than Caesar. According to the Roman writer Dio Cassius, Cleopatra was in the prime of her life. She had a delightful voice which could not fail to cast a spell over all who heard it. Such was the charm of her person and her speech that they drew the coldest and most determined misogynists into her toils. Caesar was spellbound as soon as he set eyes on her, and she opened her mouth to speak. That same evening, Cleopatra became Caesar's lover. Caesar had numerous mistresses before, divert him from the rigors of his campaign, but he had always disposed of them quickly to return to what really thrilled him: political intrigue, the challenge of warfare, the Roman theater. Caesar had seen women try everything to keep him under their spell, yet nothing prepared him for Cleopatra. One night, she would tell him how together they could revive the glory of Alexander the Great and rule the world like gods. And the next, she would entertain him dressed as the goddess Isis, surrounded by the opulence of her court. Cleopatra initiated Caesar in the most decadent revelries, revelries. That's what I see. Presenting herself as the incarnation of the Egyptian exotic. His life with her was constant game, a challenge of warfare. For the moment he felt secure with her, she would suddenly turn cold or angry, and he would have to find a way to regain her favor. The weeks went by. Caesar got rid of all the Cleopatra rivals and found excuses to stay in Egypt. At one point, she led him on a lavish historical expedition down the Nile in a boat of unimaginable splendors, towering 54 feet out on the water, including several trance levels and pillared temples to the god Dionysus. Caesar became one of the few Romans to gaze on the pyramids, and while he stayed long in Egypt, away from his throne in Rome, all kind of turmoil erupted throughout the Roman Empire. When Caesar was murdered in 44 BC, he was succeeded by a triumvirate of rulers, including Mark Antony, a brave soldier who loved pleasure and spectacle and fancied himself the kind of Roman Dionysus. A few years later, while Antony was in Syria, Cleopatra invited him to come meet her in the Egyptian town of Tarsus. There, once she had made him wait for her, her appearance was as startling in its way as it was before Caesar. A magnificent gold barge with purple sails appeared on the river of Cydnus. The oarsmen rowed to the accompaniment of ethereal music. All around the boat was beautiful young girls dressed as nymphs and mythological figures. Cleopatra sat on the deck, surrounded and fanned by Cupids and poised as the goddess Aphrodite, who named the crowd chanted enthusiastically. Like all of Cleopatra's victims, Antony felt mixed emotions. The exotic pleasures she offered were hard to resist, but he also wanted to tame her. To defeat this proud, luscious woman would prove his greatness, and so he stayed, and like Caesar, fell slowly under her spell. She indulged him in all of his weaknesses: gambling, precautious parties, elaborate rituals, lavish spectacles. To get him back to Rome, Octavius, another member of the Roman triumvirate, offered him a wife, Octavius' own sister Octavia, one of the most beautiful women in Rome. Known for her virtue and goodness, she could surely keep Antony away from the Egyptian whore. The ploy worked for a while, but Antony was unable to forget Cleopatra, and after 3 years he went back to her. This time it was for good. He had in essence became Cleopatra's slave, granting her immense power, adopting Egyptians' dress and customs, and renouncing the way of Rome. Only one image of Cleopatra survives, a barely visible profile on a coin, but we have numerous written descriptions. She had a long, thin face and somewhat pointed nose. Her dominant feature were her wonderful large eyes. Her seductive power, however, did not lie in her looks. Indeed, many among the women of Alexandria were considered more beautiful than she. What she did have, above all women, was the ability to distract a man. In reality, Cleopatra was physically unexceptional and had no political power, yet both Caesar and Antony, brave and clever, saw none of this. What they saw was a woman who constantly transformed herself before their eyes. A one-woman spectacle. Her dress and makeup changed from day to day, but always gave her a heightened godness-like appearance. Her voice, which all writers talk of, was lit and intoxicating. Her words could be banal enough, but words spoken so sweetly that listeners would find themselves remembering not what she said, but how she said it. Cleopatra provided constant variety: tributes, mock battles, exhibitions, costumed orgies. Everything had a touch of drama and was accomplished with great energy. By the time your head lay on the pillow beside her, your mind was spinning with images and dreams. And just when you thought you had this fluid, larger-than-life woman, she would turn distant or angry, making it clear that everything was on her terms. You never possessed Cleopatra. You worship her. In this way, a woman who had been exiled and destined for early death managed to turn it all around and rule Egypt for close to 20 years. From Cleopatra, we learn that it's not beauty that makes sirens, but a rather theatrical streak that allows a woman to embody a man's fantasy. A man grows bored with a woman, no matter how beautiful she is. He yearns for different pleasures and for adventure. All women need to turn this around is to create illusion that she offers such variety and adventure. A man is easily deceived by appearance. He has a weakness for the visual. Create the physical presence of a siren, heightened sexual allure mixed with a regal and theatrical manner, and he is trapped. He cannot grow bored with you, yet he cannot discard you. Keep up the distraction and never let him see who you really are. He will follow you until he drowns. Sounds kind of bad. 1 second. Cool. All right. Sorry about that. Do another 10, right? That's part 2, right? Yeah. Join us next time for part 3. Hurt.